I installed cameras throughout the first floor, thinking I was dealing with the same person who'd been in my basement. But what I captured on camera was far worse than I'd imagined. This wasn't a homeless person looking for shelter. This was someone who'd been studying my house and my routine for months. The footage showed a figure moving through my house with complete familiarity. They knew which floorboards creaked, which doors made noise when opened, how to move through the rooms without triggering motion sensor lights. This person had been inside my house many times before. Most disturbing was watching them go through my personal belongings. They'd spend time looking through photo albums, reading mail, examining items in my bedroom. It was like they were learning about my life, studying who I was and how I lived. The figure would arrive around 2 a.m. and stay for several hours, always leaving before dawn. They'd go through my refrigerator, use my bathroom, even watch TV in my living room. They were treating my house like it was partially theirs. I realized that sealing the basement tunnel hadn't solved the problem. It had just forced this person to find another way in. Somehow, they had access to my house through methods I hadn't discovered yet. I started sleeping with a baseball bat next to my bed and installed additional locks on my bedroom door. But knowing that someone was moving around my house while I slept was absolutely terrifying. Every small sound would wake me up, convinced that they were coming upstairs. The police reviewed the new camera footage and immediately escalated the case. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. This was stalking behavior with potential for violence. They assigned a detective to investigate and suggested I stay somewhere else while they figured out how this person was accessing my house. But I was stubborn and angry about being driven out of my own home. I decided to stay and catch this person myself. I set up cameras in every room, installed motion sensors throughout the house, and prepared to confront whoever was invading my space. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. I was lying in bed around 3 a.m. when I heard my kitchen door open. I grabbed my bat and my phone, ready to call 911 while confronting the intruder. I crept downstairs and found them standing in my living room, looking through a photo album. It was a woman, probably in her 50s, wearing dark clothes and moving with the confidence of someone who belonged there. When she saw me, she didn't run or act surprised. She just looked at me calmly and said, "You shouldn't have sealed the tunnel." I demanded to know who she was and how she was getting into my house. She explained that she was the daughter of the previous owner, and she'd been taking care of the house for years before her mother died. She had keys to all the doors and knew every secret about the property. According to her story, she'd been living in the abandoned house next door and using the tunnel to maintain my house, checking on things and keeping it in good condition. When I bought the house and sealed the tunnel, she'd felt forced to use her keys to continue what she saw as her responsibility. The police arrived while we were talking, and the woman, whose name was Margaret, didn't resist arrest. But her explanation revealed the disturbing scope of what had been happening. She had detailed knowledge of my daily routine, my work schedule, my personal habits. Margaret had been entering my house regularly for months, not just since I discovered the basement situation. She'd been studying my life, learning about me, and gradually increasing her presence in the house. The basement incident had just been when I'd finally noticed her activities. During questioning, Margaret revealed that she'd been doing this with the previous owner too. Her elderly mother had been unaware that Margaret was secretly living in the house part-time, managing household tasks and monitoring daily activities. The police found evidence that Margaret had keys to several other houses in the neighborhood, all properties that had belonged to elderly residents who died in recent years. She'd been systematically taking over vacant or vulnerable properties, creating a network of houses she could access and control. Margaret's behavior was a form of psychological disorder where she needed to feel responsible for and connected to domestic spaces. She couldn't accept that houses belonged to other people if she felt emotionally attached to them. The most disturbing discovery was that Margaret had been planning to gradually make herself indispensable to me, the same way she had with her mother. She'd been learning my habits so she could eventually approach me directly, offering to help with household tasks and slowly integrating herself into my life. She'd done this successfully with several elderly neighbors over the years, becoming their unofficial caretaker while secretly maintaining access to their homes. Her mother's death had disrupted this pattern, forcing her to try the same approach with me. Margaret was charged with multiple counts of breaking and entering, stalking, and possession of stolen property. The investigation revealed that she'd been operating this way for over a decade, targeting people she perceived as needing domestic help. I had to change all my locks, install a comprehensive security system, and even consider moving to a different neighborhood. The knowledge that someone had been studying my life so thoroughly was deeply violating and made me paranoid about privacy and home security. The experience taught me to trust my instincts about strange occurrences in my house. Those initial sounds in the basement weren't just settling or mice. They were signs of a serious invasion of privacy that escalated over time. I also learned about the importance of researching property history and neighboring properties when buying a house. The tunnel between basements wasn't mentioned in any disclosure documents, and the abandoned house next door should have been a red flag for potential security issues. Margaret received a sentence of 3 years in prison, but the psychological impact of her intrusion lasted much longer for me. It took months before I felt comfortable sleeping peacefully in my own house again. The case prompted a neighborhood-wide investigation that revealed Margaret had been accessing several other properties without the owner's knowledge. Multiple families discovered evidence of unauthorized entry and surveillance that they'd previously dismissed as coincidence.